Timeshare owners looking to exit their timeshare need to understand what to expect in the process of getting out of the timeshare. They also need to understand about how much time something like this is going to take. If you've chosen the right timeshare exit company, there's a variety of different ways of getting out of a timeshare. And if you've chosen a timeshare exit company and they have one solution for every single kind of timeshare exit, that's probably not the timeshare exit company that you want to partner with. What to expect varies based on the programs the program that's going to work best in your situation. As an example, at Centerstone Group, we have three main processes. One is if you own a Mexico timeshare process. The process of exiting a Mexico timeshare is going to involve an attorney in Mexico. It's going to involve an arbitration hearing with a particular consumer protection agency within Mexico. It's going to involve the accumulation of the information necessary in order to argue that case in that arbitration. Now, timeshare exit customers with Mexico timeshares don't have to worry about traveling to Mexico or being in a hearing at, a Mexican consumer protection agency. That's all going to be in Spanish. It's all going to be a legal process. So that's something you don't have to worry about. That's why we assign an attorney. One of our Mexico attorneys handles that and attends that hearing and argues that case. But there is a significant amount of information that we need to collect to make sure that we can argue that case. So depending on how long it takes to collect that information, for most clients, it's maybe a week, less than a week sometimes. There is some things that need to be notarized as an example. But once we accumulate that information, the attorney in Mexico is then going to fill out all the paperwork to get that hearing scheduled. That hearing in Mexico is typically scheduled 3 months out. So it's going to take 3 months for that hearing to happen. Typically, probably 80% of the time, the arguments are made in that hearing. And by the end of the hearing, the arbitrator rules, because of the strength of the process and how we accumulate the information and how we position these cases. We've never lost one. I'm going to knock on wood here, a little bit of superstition. But it's all in the preparation, having the right attorney represent you and understanding those consumer protection laws in Mexico and how these hearings operate. Once that decree is pushed out by that regulatory agency, that typically will take another 3 to 5 days. If there's anything that the timeshare company is ordered to do as a byproduct of that, then that can take oftentimes a month from that point in time. And that's how that process works. So, it's typically a 5-month process from signing up for our service to here's your order, you're out of that timeshare and everything's cleared up. So that's an example of one of the processes. Another process is if your timeshare qualifies for a transfer. That's going to be a 3 to 5 month process. Typically, there's also going to be an accumulation of information. There's going to be a public recording process. There's going to be some notarizing of deed documentation. There's going to be some sign off from a receiver, sign off from the grantor, the person getting out of the timeshare, and that all it's a very similar to a title process that you would for your home, although it takes a bit longer because it has to flow through the timeshare company or your homeowners association, and so that's where it kind of gets gummed up. We could get them done in a month, but it typically takes between 3 and 5 months because of the delays at the HOA or at the timeshare company. That's 3 to 5 months in both of those processes. Now, if you have a more complicated file where you're going to run through, say, our pressure campaign, then there's a lot of variables. In some instances, we've had clients that come to us with very open and shut cases, laws that were violated that make it very, very easy to get them out of the timeshare. And we see that, we could have someone out in a month. In some instances that can run 12, 16 months. And a lot of times it's hard to tell. I wish it was more consistent, But timeshare companies, I can tell you from being in timeshare companies for 30 years at the executive level and being in timeshare exit, timeshare companies are not particularly well-run businesses. And they don't have very good standard operating procedures. And so a lot of times a timeshare exit, two clients that have the exact same situation are going to get out on different timelines. And it may have to do with whether or not, who the employee was that was in charge of that file. Or, just efficiency variables within the organization, staffing. They typically don't staff those departments very well. And so that really delays those exit processes. What's important is do your research, find a quality timeshare exit partner that's going to be honest with you and give you a realistic range, right? If a timeshare exit company says, oh yeah, we're going to have you out in 3 months, we're going to have you out in a month and a half, ask them how that's going to happen. How are you going to do that? And does that make sense? Ask the tough questions. And if it doesn't make sense or sounds too good to be true, that's a red flag and you need to find a different organization. But ask the question. You deserve it. Every timeshare owner that takes on a timeshare exit should understand what they're getting themselves into. So make sure you have an organization that's honest and transparent and is going to tell you what's going to happen.